the writing's on the wall. Everything's kind of falling apart, but I feel like this is the year where things are going to slowly creep closer to our front door. It's just interesting to exist as a comedian in a time like this, you know? It will always be about being funny, but what are you drawing inspiration from to tell your jokes? Hollywood Bowl, Magic Castle, and Comedy Store closed as Sunset Fire nears Hollywood Boulevard. We're talking about insurance companies. They are so lawyered up with some of the best lawyers that there's no way they just cancel people's policies without investigating if they can get sued or not. I would hope that it changes the mentality of the town.
I don't think it will.
It won't. Wanting to go to the States for the year and trying to see more places and do comedy and stuff. LA was obviously on the map.
Yeah.
And we are watching LA unfortunately burn to the ground. In front of us. Our hearts go out to everybody affected out there. Love and respect. And salutes to anybody just trying to make that situation survivable. You know what I mean? A lot of people are affected. Obviously, the world of comedy is affected. There's been some closures at some comedy clubs. And now this puts into question, like, how do we... I'm not going to lie to you, though, bro. Like, because we pay attention to these things. Not that we knew there was a fire coming or anything like this, but, like, you know, there's roadmaps and guidelines, and, like, whether they be conspiracy or not, people have been talking for ages about what's taking place in the world right now and all this stuff, right? We look at all the wars and all these things going on. I was in the back of my mind, bro, like, none of these trips I'm really sure I was knowing going into this year. You know, like, I don't know how much of that you had put an emphasis on in your own mind or anything like this, but, like,
what?
Some of these things just might not be happening as much as, like, we want them to.
If they don't, they don't. If they do,
exactly.
They do. Inshallah, they will.
Inshallah. you gotta plan for the best and then also prepare for the worst, unfortunately. Yep. And that's why I'm constantly saying to you, let's have contingency plans, and like it might be a year where we explore Canada more than we expected to. I'm thinking about that. I have a couple people that I'm going to reach out to.
Yeah, we got to check out the West Coast, the East Coast.
So I already got
a lot of coast, North Coast.
I got the homie out west that's been trying to get me out there for a minute. So
out in the sticks, huh?
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. Are you? This is going to be an interesting year.
Oh, for sure.
We were less than 10 days in and Cali burnt. And whether you believe in prophecy or not, I'm not even talking biblical. It's just like people have been saying, like, you know, the infrastructure is all there. The writing's on the wall. Everything's kind of falling apart. The focus was on the war, or the wars, multiple wars that were happening before this. But I feel like this is the year where things are going to slowly creep closer to our front door.
Mm.
It's just interesting to exist as a comedian in a time like this, you know, like. To me, it's almost like she's not a comedian, but there's an interview that just resonates so heavy with me. Nina Simone.
Okay.
She's like, an artist's job is to reflect the times.
Yes.
It's like, that's our duty as artists. And that's why you see me going so ham when I'm talking about my love of comedy, and I'm watching what mainstream considers comedy now, because for the longest time, what mainstream considered comedy was just stand-up, but now it's like broadened so much, and these people don't care about stand-up, so it's like, let's start to differentiate and be honest about what's actually taking. But it's just like, people don't care to do that, man. People are out here just trying to get clout and fame and all that stuff, you know. It's but I actually care about the platform of what comedy is as an art form. Like, of course, and you will always hear me emphasize this because I feel like it always has to be, because people are just waiting to be like, but this is comedy, it's about funny. It will always be about being funny. But how can you live in a world where everything, like, what are you drawing inspiration from to tell your jokes is my thing. And if all your shit's just kind of goofy, that kind of says something about you. Are you really living... You know, I'm not trying to sound judgmental, but what type of life are you living? It sounds very, like, superficial, and, you know, if you're focused on clout and fame and just telling rinky-dink shit, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense, at least to me, you know. But I think that's going to wrap up Comedy Recap and all that good stuff. Do we want to read that article? Maybe give a little more... We kind of
touched it. Nah.
A little more context, or... Because let me just read the beginning of it, because the comedy clubs have been closing. This nigga went back to the Facebook. That's all Illuminati freaking. Hollywood Bowl, Magic Castle, and Comedy Store closed as Sunset Fire nears Hollywood Boulevard. I'll read just a little bit of this article. With the Sunset Fire reaching Hollywood Boulevard, several major venues along both legendary streets have closed their doors out of caution. After a mandatory evacuation was ordered for the area on Wednesday night, the Hollywood Bowl announced that its staff was cooperating with the order as the evening's Igor Levit concert, whoever that is, was postponed. Due to the Sunset Fire, we've blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so they closed. Scroll down a bit for me, get to the comedy clubs. The statement comes shortly after LAFD responds to new brush fire that broke out in Runyon Canyon, the Hollywood Hills. That has spread more than 50 acres. Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for an area bounded by Laurel Canyon Boulevard, Freeway, Hollywood Boulevard. Okay. The Laugh Factory also announced on Instagram, tonight's shows have been canceled. All ticket holders will be refunded. We extend our deepest gratitude to the firefighters who are working tirelessly to protect our community. Earlier in the day, with venues announced, other venues announced they were closing out of safety, including the Comedy Store, which noted that all ticket holders will be fully refunded. The Magic Castle shared on their Instagram story. Yeah, so like all the clubs are pretty much, it's getting close. It's like the fact that it's getting close to sunset is wild. Because we were literally like talking about going and seeing the store this year and all these things. I'm like, I pray that these things all continue to stand. Now, I don't want people to suffer or burn or anything like this. You know, that's. But at the same time, I think last year was the year that I really like locked in. We've had more and more conversations about how these established things aren't like what they all seem to be.
Okay.
You know? And as much as I don't want the Comedy Store to burn down or any of the, you know what I mean? But it's like Hollywood is seedy and it's full of just like the history of it as historic and grandiose and all that. There's a lot of disgusting shit that exists in that town that we don't even know the beginning of.
Yeah.
And if this is taking place, I would hope that it changes the mentality of the town.
I don't think it will.
It won't. It won't. It won't, because that's what the whole town is built off of. It's Sodom and Gomorrah, man. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. And you know, it's almost like
because LA was on fire last year too.
LA's always on fire though. It's what you know what happened, and this is why all the insurance companies pulled out and stuff. So it's gonna be very interesting. I feel like the lawsuits when they start coming, like we're talking about insurance companies. They are so lawyered up with the best lawyers that there's no way they just cancel people's policies without investigating if they can get sued or not. So they canceled people's policies like a year out from this. It's not like they just did it now, although I am hearing stories of people just finding out in the middle of the fire that they no longer have. So that's also effed up. But the like Los Angeles, specifically in the Palisades, they stopped brush clearing and all that stuff. They weren't sweeping the floors of the forest, and the insurance companies looked at that and they're like, yo, that's high risk. No fire insurance for this.
Well, did you see? Because even Rogan had a guy on talking about it. And he's like, just the way it's set up, one day there's going to be a wind.
Oh, yeah, I did see that clip.
That you can't put it out.
Yeah. Bro, I mean, that guy's not a prophet either. We were watching.
Like, no, but he's looking, it's the same thing. He's looking at the ground. Yo, they're not sweeping. One little timber falls on this, one little spark of flame, breeze hits it nice.
It makes you wonder, man. And then when you look at the water issue, like, you know, like, I was looking a little bit into this.
Who is
like
it?
65% of the water is owned by this family. This they run like you know, pomegranate, the company Palm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They own that, like they own like a pistachio farm, palm farm. They own a lot of farmland in Cali. So the Cali residents actually have to buy water from them because they own like
because all the water is diverted.
They have the water rights.
Yeah.
When you really start to look, bro, it's falling apart. It's been falling apart, but now this is how you know it's really falling apart, because not woke, like just completely asleep people are being like, it's crumbling. That's how you know it's too late. You know what I mean? When mainstreamers are starting to be like, it's crumbling, bro, like we were on message boards 20 years ago talking about this.
Yes.
now you're just catching up to 20-year-old conspiracies and still trying to figure out, like, it's Delbert Blair, metaphysical
Yes.
professor guy. You know how many times I've seen him in lectures talk about one day Cali's like, well, from the coast to the ocean is going to burn, unfortunately. It's just, and yeah. So again, our thoughts and prayers, not just to the fire, to everybody affected in the fire, but everybody affected by the bullshit, you know, all around the world. It's never been weirder. And because of the access to information and the internet and all that stuff, we've never known more about just how effed up everything is.
Yeah.
So for all y'all's sake, man, I pray you guys find the light in all this darkness, especially starting this year, going out to 2030, man, because this is going to be an interesting time, I feel like.
Black Zeus, the podcast, season 6, featuring Black Zeus and Dante, aka Black Zeus on YouTube, Patreon, and Instagram.